differently in the sense that this is a Silverlight 2 application, so this is working and been built over the last 4 months. Again, not full-time, but a project that's been ongoing for a while. The idea with this is to how do you create a site, be it for football or for other sports, which is all based around amateur sport. So how do you know who's available to play at a certain venue at a certain date? How do you get the teams? How do you get the tactics for those teams all together? So the idea with this is how do you create a very dynamic and integrated way of just engaging everybody in the team, as well as the fans and referees and everybody else involved. So some of this, just to give you a quick whiz through some of the items here, we have a whole bunch of things. As I said, coaching tools. So for example, there's a coach board here. So as a team coach, you can come along and say, I want a particular format, 4-3-1-2 here. I can drag my players around into the right sort of positions, that if we actually want this guy to move forward a bit and have a straight line, or if we want just a simple 4-4-2 format, we can then get around some of the errors and do this.
Is it?
All going so well.
I'll tell you what, this is work in progress.
Absolute work in progress. So, yeah.
And I did like the original formation better anyway.
The original formation would have won the game, I think. So in this case, we've now moved on to a chalkboard. So we could say that just by here, we've now moved to chalk. We could say that this guy needs to move in this direction, and this guy's actually going to score the goal once he passes it to him there. It's a great. It's a great offensive mechanism.
As long as there's no other team on the pitch, I would have been right with you scoring that goal.
It's bound to work, and obviously we can do different things in different colours. One of the big things on this one, which I think is going to be interesting, is the whole match reconstructor. So again, a lot of test data, this is work in progress. But the idea is that you come along and say, at a certain game, that at a certain point in time, so if we're looking at 15 minutes in, what happened? Well, there was a yellow card issued, and who was the yellow card issued to? Well, it was Team A, and it was actually going to be Simon Balls. And we've now recognised that that's an event that's happened, and we can add more items in here. A goal happened at 38 minutes in, and it was a goal by Team B, etc. So a way of constructing the match and then being able to go back and analyse that as you go forward. Other things here, we have a nice little kit designer. So again, simple things to do, and you might have done this in Flash or whatever before, but creating this in Silverlight was really just a matter of hours to do that. So we can change our lovely strip and make sure that everybody recognises us from now on.
The bumblebees, by any chance?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And of course then we've got things like the squad. So who's in the squad? Some chap here. We've got a means of actually then navigating into all the details of that guy, and we have a sort of card flip here telling you some more details of them as well. Again, early days in terms of design process, but it's starting to come together. And then we have things like an extended sidebar. So obviously the whole real estate that you've got to play with, how do you make use of that in a certain interesting way? We can look at all of the items that have been coming through as updates of different teams and understand how that fits together through that. So there's more and more bits and bobs that are getting added to that as we go forward, but hopefully that gives you an idea, and Adam can take you through some of that in how it's been pulled together in Blend.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks a lot, Richard. So I'm with IPrinciples with Adam, who's one of the designers, and you've been working on a football application built in Silverlight 2, and you use design and blend quite a lot, and you're going to show us some of the process that you do.
Okay. Well, when I'm designing something in Silverlight in particular, it's always easier to start off in design and draw out all your assets first. And some people prefer to work with separate pages for each element, whereas I prefer to work with a big canvas with everything on. And then I can just drag and drop elements between my pages. For example here, if I zoom right into 100%.
So on that single page I've got all of the UI elements that make up the football application?
Yeah. A good selection of them. I mean, it's impossible to do everything, but I like to keep as much in one document as possible, because it gives me a lot of flexibility with what I'm using in each section. And if I take it to 100%, you can see here which will be a control, which is to do with recreating matches after you've played them.
So this is the bit that Richard showed me, where you can annotate the timeline of a match with when yellow cards were given out, red cards, when goals were scored, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, that's correct. And then each player on the team can see this and review matches and things like that. So this is basically what I wanted it to look like. And when I've finished designing it out in here, I've drawn up roughly what everything is going to be. I take it into Blend, and then I start laying it out in in a grid, and I got all the grid sections in the places that I want, and start layering in the controls. And if you see here, it's similarities there.
It's quite close.
Yeah, definitely. There's obviously always going to be some differences in the way a design program handles it and the way Blend handles it, but the actual similarity is very, very good.
And then you were mentioning earlier that you code some of it yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
So although you're a designer by trade,
yeah,
you code some in C# presumably?
Yeah. And that, well, is pretty simple to do with Blend as well, because the way it handles the event tags, I mean, you can just link things through to here, take it into VS, and then edit it, but the majority of it is doable in Blend. And the way that feeds back to a live preview, so I can see how it is going to look before I have to compile and build it every time. It's very useful.
And then it's the larger segments of the application's code that you hand off to a developer to work on?
I'd say so, yeah.
So if you take this example with the annotating a timeline of a match, were you able to do most of that yourself?
I was able to do most of it myself. There was quite a lot of stuff that required SQL databases. With it being an online application, there needs to be a database stored somewhere. But getting the placeholders and handlers in and how I wanted it to work, and just leaving all the hooks open so I can then pass off to a developer and they just know what to do, and it makes it a lot easier.
And did you use any other tools to build this application? So you've got design, you've got Blend, you've got Visual Studio.
Other than that, probably not. I think those three tools do pretty much everything I need.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's okay.